All right, thanks everybody for joining us. We will get started in just a minute here. Saw there's still some folks in the waiting room. They're all coming at once.
I'm trying to set up the Facebook Live.
Okay, yep, thank you. So yeah, we can get started once we get that up. That's a cute cat, Derek. Okay. How's the Facebook streaming coming, Morgan? Okay, 1 second. Hold on, everybody. We're almost there. This is a good time to remind everybody that our meetings are streamed on Facebook. They are recorded as well. So just be aware that things you say here can and are public. So want to make sure everybody knows that. We're still getting more people joining. Are we ready to go, Morgan? Or
it's just taking its time to load. I want to make sure it shows up.
Sure. This is also our first meeting on Zoom. I know many of us have used Zoom over the past 12 months, but this is our first time using it for our work. So appreciate patience from folks. All right. I think, Morgan, you're working on the Facebook streaming still? Okay, I think if you keep working on that, we can get started. I don't want to wait too long because I know we have quite a bit to get through tonight. So with that, welcome everybody to the February 43rd District Democrats meeting. Really great to have you all here. It looks like there's 50 people on the call, and I know people will keep trickling in. So I will officially call our meeting to order. So something we're going to start our meeting with this time. It's a little new for us, but not for many of the other orgs that you've been involved in, I'm sure, is a land acknowledgement. So our secretary, Ellen Eads, is going to provide that.
Thanks, Scott. I would like to acknowledge that we are on the unceded ancestral traditional lands of the Duwamish people, who are among those we call the Coast Salish. Duwamish means inside people, referring to all people living inside the Puget Sound. In particular, I acknowledge the people of the large lake, Hatchuabsh, who lived around Lake Washington. These lands have been inhabited for around 10,000 years. The Duwamish are still here, continuing to honor and bring to light their ancient heritage, despite having no federal recognition due to having no legally recognized lands. We honor their struggle for their rights, and we are grateful to their elders for their stewardship. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ellen. Really appreciate that. Okay, really briefly, we're going to, since this is the first meeting of a new term, we're going to go over some of our meeting norms and Robert rules. So we're all on the same page about what to expect here. Morgan, are you able to share those slides that we have?
Yes, I will share that. And the live stream is live, just so everyone knows.
Excellent. Yes.
Cool. 1 second. Okay, can someone confirm that you can see this window?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, real quick, general meeting operations, moving to the to seek the floor for any reason, you'll note that the general chat is disabled. So to seek your hand, would you by going to your participants window and then selecting raise hand. Hands in the order they appear to the top of the participants list. So Scott will just go through the raise the order they appear up there. Once you've spoken, please lower your hand. If you need help doing that, we can go over that later. If the chair needs to take a quick poll of the membership, they may ask you to choose a yes or a no reaction, which is also found where raise hand is found. As mentioned, general chat is disabled, but you're able to message hosts directly if you need help. So for difficult, you can message me. I'm noted as meeting help, and I should all the co-hosts and hosts are also at the top of the participants list. For voting code help, if you don't have your vote, you can email tally@43rdemocrats.org or reach out to Bryce Colt, who is noted as voted in the participants list. Yep, so like we mentioned, the meeting is live streamed on Facebook, so you can go have a general discussion there if you would like. And I will drop that link in the chat window.
Great. Thanks, Morgan. And then our Vice Chair, Maddie Von Hoff, is going to take this slide, I think.
Thanks, Scott. So we wanted to take a minute to go over our meeting norms, especially for any new folks that we have joining us. Our first group norm today is please treat each other with dignity and respect. We want to make sure that this is a welcoming area where people feel like they can ask questions and essentially be new here and, not be, scared to ask anything or engage with folks. And that starts with, treating everyone with dignity and respect, even though we might disagree at times on some of these specific issues. If you don't know, please ask. Like Morgan said, you can raise your hand and be recognized for the chair, not just to make a motion or to speak for or against a bill, but also just to ask a general question. And Scott is happy to help you out there. Please, if you have heard of this one, we are including step up, step back. And what we mean by this is if you are somebody who doesn't always engage or has sometimes a hard time finding their voice or is unsure, step up. We're happy to help you out in this moment and answer any questions you might have. If you're someone who feels pretty confident, speaking your mind and stating your opinion, we ask you to remember there are times that you should step back and create that space for other folks to be able to join in the conversation and provide their input and feedback to some of these issues that we're working on today. Please remember that everyone here is a volunteer, and this happens because of a huge amount of good folks, on the other end of things, folks like Morgan and Bryce and Annabelle and Ellen and all of our board members who are running this behind the scenes. They are volunteers. So when you do have questions or difficulties, please reach out to them, but please remain patient as well, that they might be helping other good folks who are joining us here for this meeting. And so we appreciate your flexibility. And then finally, together we share a responsibility for staying on time that, Scott is our facilitator and our chair here, but we all share responsibility for respecting each other's time and getting through this agenda in a timely manner. Thanks everyone so much.
Yeah, thanks so much, Maddie. So then this next slide, I'm going to go very briefly over this. Robert's Rules of Order. I know it sounds scary. Some of you might not know what I'm talking about. Robert's Rules of Order are the set of parliamentary procedures that we use to run our meetings. You don't need to be an expert or even know anything about them to participate. They are very useful for us to keep on track and keep our discussions focused. But I know they can be intimidating to others. When I came to my first 43rd meeting, I had no idea what was going on. So with that, just want to say, if you want to contribute at any time, please raise your hand. We will call on you and we will help you form whatever it is that you want to say into the appropriate motion and direct you in the right place. As I mentioned, the Robert's rules are complex, but most of it is pretty basic. Folks will just be moving to approve or amend or postpone something. You don't need a doctorate degree in this sort of thing to be participating in our meetings. Everybody here has a right as a 43rd member to participate fully in our meetings and to understand what's going on and what's being voted on. So if you ever do need us to slow down because it isn't clear, please raise your hand and ask. That's called a point of personal privilege in Robert's Rules lingo, but you don't need to know that. Just let us know and we'll catch you up. And then the last note is for our parliamentary rock stars out there, the folks who really are Robert's Rules pros. Please use your powers for good. There are some really fancy motions that you can make, and they are within the rules, that we have, but they can be really exclusionary to new folks, and they make our meetings sometimes less welcoming to people. So just want to put that out there. Keep that in mind for you experts out there. So with that, I think we're ready to really dive into things. Morgan, do you have the agenda up that you could share?
I can grab it real fast. I'm trying to watch the waiting room and also answer in chat. So for some people, the raise hand feature may be in your reactions. So check and participants. It depends on the version of Zoom you have. Yes, okay. It depends on the version of Zoom you have and what operating system you're on.
Okay. I am sharing.
And then Scott, real quick, I'm gonna chime in. So for folks who are on the phone who cannot just raise your hand, right, because you don't have those buttons, you can raise or lower your hand by hitting *9. You won't have access to the yes or no buttons. We are not expecting to use them today, but we just want to let you know that if you do have a question, you can do *9 to let us know.
Great. Thanks so much, Patty. Really appreciate that. Okay, so you all should be seeing our agenda up now. For those who can't see, we're on the stage of approving the agenda. I will give a very brief welcome. We have some guest speakers with us. We will appoint some new PCOs. And then we have the main business of our meeting, which will be considering some standing rules for debate, some bylaws amendments, potentially electing a policy committee chair, committee and representative reports, some breakout sessions, and then a few resolutions. So are there any amendments to this agenda? And I am not seeing my participants tab. So if somebody is raising their hand, let me know, Morgan. All right. Okay, hearing none, we have an agenda. And are there any corrections to our January minutes? Most of what we did in January was electing our new board. Okay, not hearing any. We have adopted our minutes. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for now so I can see all of you instead. Welcome everybody. I'm really excited to be getting started with this new term. We have a really great board, and I can't wait to see what we all do together over the next 2 years. So I will give a very brief chair's report later in the committee representative reports, but we have some guest speakers here and want to get to them quickly. We don't, some of these folks are not here right now, and we're going to do our best to fit them when they can. They are bouncing between different LD meetings and their work and other things. So we will get started, and the folks who aren't here, we will get when they join. So I don't see Councilmember Mosqueda here with us. She let us know that she'd be joining later. I also don't see Judge Roberts. So with that, we will move to Callie Clark, who's running for King County Conservation District. And can we unmute Callie?
Yes, working on it. Sorry.
Great. I think if you are on this list and you're expecting to speak, if you could raise your hand, that would help us find folks in the future. All right. Do we have Callie unmuted?
Sorry, what's Callie's name in the list? Does it start with her?
Sorry.
Hello, you got me. Candidate guest.
Awesome.
I
Yes.
apologize.
No worries.
Yeah, someone got me. Thank you so much for your guys' time. So I'm Kaylee Clark. I'm running for the King Conservation District Board of Supervisors. There are 9 of us, if some of you all have seen. Really last year, I think Chris Porter, the bee guy, I'm sure he visited you all. He really brought light to King Conservation District and what we do, what they do and what we can do. So I'm running to get back to some conservation work. I've spent the last 9 years in public service with natural resources stewardship in the forefront. So I used to be a wildland firefighter for the state. I worked for Washington Department of Natural Resources, where I helped set policy for forest practices and conservation work across the entire state. I used to run our inmate crews. That was my first job there. And it was a really good opportunity to be connected socially and really connect them to the land. And so we did a lot of conservation work and reforestation on state lands. So my top goals for this position are really increasing awareness and outreach on the conservation district. I know a lot of people don't know what conservation districts do. So really trying to increase that and, make a name for itself. Facilitating partnerships with some underserved communities that that KCD hasn't partnership yet with. They only have about 35 cities that they're partnered with right now in King County. And then ensuring an equitable budget with King County. So same thing, really focusing on some underserved communities and populations. I currently reside in Sammamish, so I'm visiting you all from the 45th. My partner and I live on just a tiny bit of land with some woods and trees. I used to live on Capitol Hill, but I really missed being a little bit further out in some nature. So I'm not sure if you guys will be endorsing for this position since it's such a constrained time, but I'll post, if it's okay, my election page and how to vote. So voting opens 1st of March, and that'll be sort of an online system with directions on their website. So thank you all so much.
Yeah,
And
thank you.
That's time. Thanks.
Yeah.
You can send the link to me and I can get it to the general chat. Thanks.
Okay, thanks so much, Morgan. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. So up next, we have John Comerford.
Thank you very much, Scott. John Comerford, running for the same thing as Callie, the King Conservation District. It's a very unsung organization. It's probably the best kept secret in King County. As Callie mentioned, there are 9 of us running. Last year, when Chris won, only 6,500 people voted out of 1.2 million. The year before that, only 3,500 voted. So we really need people to get out and vote, whether it's for me or Callie or Brittany or anyone else who's going to be running. My focus is on finance. I've got a background for many years in environmental, socially, and governance issues. I've been president of the National Cooperative Bank. I was managing director of Calvert Group, the largest environmentally responsible investment firm in the country. The issues I'm focused on in this election are developing partnerships with schools, both for education and for programs, as well as to develop internships. Urban conservation. I want to make sure that we have grants to cities and towns and areas within our jurisdiction to undertake conservation efforts. We want to make sure that we have pea patches going all over the district, not just in Seattle. Want to protect family farms. Again, with partnerships, I think we can leverage the dollars that are available to us through the King Conservation District to be able to protect and increase the size of family farms. Last thing I want to focus on is to serve as a monitor for the port. I think that's important to all of us because of the air, water, and noise pollution that's caused. We can serve and should serve as a monitor to the port. So we really appreciate your vote. I will also put my material in here. You were kind enough back 5 years ago to endorse me when I ran for state treasurer. I know you're not endorsing this year, but I would really appreciate it. I think I'm a member of the 43rd, have been, and a PCO in the 36th. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much, John. And up next, we have Brittany Belay. I will ask Brittany to unmute.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. For those of you I'm not lucky enough to know, my name is Brittany Bush Belay, and I'm visiting you tonight from your sister district, the Thundering 36th, to let you know why I think I'm a great choice for the King Conservation District. As chair of Sierra Club Seattle, I've spent years championing environmental priorities in and around Seattle. And I'd like to highlight a few specific things I'm proud of. Working inside and outside, supporting frontline organizations to develop and pass Seattle's Green New Deal, leading the call for the strongest possible yes for transit package last year and getting it past the ballot box with over 80% of the vote. And Sierra Club Seattle was also one of the first Sierra Club groups in the country to call for defunding the police. I'm really proud of that, and I'm proud of the work that we continue to do, educating our members and supporters about the connections between environmental work and anti-racism. Now I'm excited to bring my experience and my knowledge to a new position where I can really use my understanding of how urban and suburban and rural conservation issues connect. I'd like to highlight a few of my priorities: strengthening relationships between the Conservation District and frontline organizations who are already doing lots of great conservation and other work, especially in the south end of King County. Examining ways the district can help in COVID recovery. I'm especially excited about the ways we can use existing community agriculture and other food programs to increase food security. And I'd like to explore the Conservation District's part in Seattle's upcoming comprehensive plan updates and emphasize the links between environmental stewardship and the plan's other three main values: community, economic opportunity, and security, race, and social equity. I'm almost out of time, I know, so I'm gonna leave you with two asks. The first is to like my Facebook page. I'll get that dropped in the chat as well. You'll get a reminder for my second ask, which is to request a ballot and vote for me on March 1st. Thank you so much for the time.
Yeah, thanks so much, Brittany, and for all the candidates running for King Conservation District. It really has been kind of a secret position and secret election, and really appreciate you all putting yourselves forward and doing the work to educate folks about it. Okay, really quickly, while we're still in the guest speaker section, we typically have given 2 minutes to all of the candidates each election cycle. So do want to acknowledge, I think we have a couple port commissioners. I saw Commissioner Steinbrook and Commissioner Ryan Calkins here. And if either of you would like to use your 2 minutes now, you can raise your hand and we can do that, or you can come back to another meeting. So I will leave that up to you. Yeah, I'm scrolling through the list to see if there are other folks I recognize. I think I see Andrew Houston, who's running for Seattle Mayor. You're also welcome to speak at this meeting or another one. Would appreciate that. Peter, are you trying to speak? I see you raising your hand. Yes, give me a sec.
There we go. How's that? Okay.
Hello, yes.
I just want to say hello to everyone. It's great to see you all. A lot of smiling faces. I think the snow brought a lot of good cheer out for us over the weekend. It certainly did for me. And I noticed how people were out talking, laughing, playing, and children and things. I also noticed the homeless condition during this extremely difficult time. I'm just happy to be here and be part of our 43rd District organization. I'm not here to speak as a candidate tonight, though I am running for re-election on the Port of Seattle, and I'll have more to say on that in the future. But just to say hello to everyone, it's great to be part of this community. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Okay, with that, yeah, we will get to our other guest speakers when they're able to join us. So with that, we will move to our PCO appointments. We have one PCO up for appointment today, and that is Paul Chapman for precinct 431364. Paul, would you like to introduce yourself to folks?
Sure. Let me start my video. Hi, Paul Chapman. My current PCO is leaving the area, and so I'm taking over for her. I've been a member of 43rd for a few years, involved in local politics for a few more years beyond that. That's all I've got to say. I'm interested in helping out.
Yes. Where is precinct 1364?
It is in southern Wallingford, just a few blocks north of Gasworks Park.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much for stepping up to be PCO. So I would ask, is there any objection to approving Paul as a appointed PCO for precinct 1364? Any objection? All right, seeing none, we have approved Paul Chapman as a precinct committee officer for 431364, and at the same time gotten back on schedule. So great job, everybody. Appreciate it. Okay, so with that, we are moving into the real meat here. We had the 43rd's Rules and Bylaws Committee has been hard at work trying to put together some standing rules for debate for us to use, especially now that we're online. And Tara Gallagher is going to walk us through that.
Okay, hello. Actually, should I put them up on the screen? Or...
That would probably be helpful if you're able to do that.
Okay. Or if someone else could, because I am the computer issues thing. And here's the link. The main philosophy with the standing rules for debate is that we are formalizing and making official what has been customary practice in debate for years. It will sound familiar to anyone who's been coming to our meetings for a while, up to 3 speakers for, 3 speakers against, with a set time limit. One reason to make it standing rules and make it official is it is official, it's kind of codified, so it hands down through the years as this is what we do. It makes it easier to enforce if we seem to be veering very much off the rules of debate. It's very simple to call for a point of order or just say, hey, this isn't according to the rules. And also things like extending debate beyond 3 speakers goes to the body to decide, and it's not just the chair's prerogative to say, hey, let's keep going. So that's the main thing. So the first part should not really seem different to anyone. There's a few other things we added just to try to keep things moving smoothly while we are debating a motion. Motions such as postponing or referring a matter to committee or anything that will end debate are out of order during a round of debate. Once speakers have started, please do not interrupt the speakers. It interrupts the flow and disrupts everybody's attention on the matter. If you think there's concerns about time or something just seems complicated and we're not ready, you can move before we start debate to postpone or refer back to committee. After we've had debate, you can move to refer something back to committee. But please you cannot interrupt the debate while have speakers lined up to discuss the matter. The other thing that we have added is we'll have 3 for and against, and then the body can vote to extend debate, and that starts another round of debate. So in between those rounds, you can move postponing or sending to committee. You can make a motion to amend a motion anytime. And also the ever popular call the question is out of order. That's something that has been cropping up for years as people get tired of discussion and want to move to a vote. That's intended for bodies that don't have limits on debate. So the 3 speakers for, 3 against limits the debate. And it just takes more time to deal with the motion to end debate. If the discussion seems to be going on beyond the customary or the allowed 3 speakers for and against, again, just say point of order or say, hey, we seem to be going way beyond the rules. If anyone has questions about any of this, raise a hand.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tara. So yeah, if folks have questions, if you could raise your hand in Zoom, that would be great. I see Paul has his hand up.
Hi, yeah, so it says within a debate round, motions to adjourn, postpone the motion, refer the motion to committee, or otherwise end debate are out of order. So does this mean that after the first speakers for and against, someone could motion to adjourn?
In the middle of well, not to motion to adjourn because while there's a motion on the floor, adjournment would be out of order, but that would be more the motions to postpone or refer to committee.
Yeah, to answer your question, Paul, I think there might be a little confusion over the rounds. So the rounds here is describing 3 speakers for and against is
okay.
a round here. So you can't, after a speaker for, a speaker against, then motion to postpone. You have to wait until
okay.
done.
So it's basically after our up to 3 speakers for and against have spoken, at that point, then these other motions could come forward.
Correct.
Gotcha. Perfect. Thanks for the clarification.
Yep. Yeah, happy to help. Annabelle, I saw your hand was up. Did you have something?
No, I think you explained it quite well.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. And are there any other questions about these? As Tara said, they're pretty much what we've been, operating under with a few clarifications. Okay, so seeing no further questions, we can move to debate. Is there anyone against, I guess I would ask, adopting these standing rules for debate? Because if not, we will just move to a vote. All right, so seeing nobody against, I will ask officially, are there any objections to adopting these proposed standing debate rules? Are there any objections? Okay, seeing none, we have adopted some proposed standing debate rules. Thanks, everybody. So these will go into effect now and govern us for the rest of this meeting. So I want to give a big shout out to Tara and Annabelle for helping to put those together. Really appreciate it. So up next will be I'm going to stop sharing my screen briefly, will be, I believe, our bylaws amendments. Yes, Great. Annabelle, are you able to give a quick rundown of those for folks?
Yeah, do you want me to share the document?
That would be helpful,
If
yes.
I don't know if I have presenter
Yeah, I think
rights
Morgan, you need
yet.
to make Annabelle a co-host so she can present.
Um, okay, I have no idea what Zoom is about to share here. Oh, okay. When I click on that, I can choose. Let's share this. All right, can you all see this? Let me zoom in here. Zoom.
I see the standing rules for debate proposal.
Really? That's the wrong Firefox window. Let me try that again.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. It helps when I click on the right Firefox window, doesn't it? Now, do we
Awesome.
see
Yes, that
the
looks
rule,
perfect.
the bylaws proposals? Okay. Scott, how do you want to do this? Do we want to go through all of them, or do we want to just go through the first three that we think are omnibus?
If-
What do we think we
If
want to
you
do?
could just give a brief explanation
All right.
of each, and then
Okay.
we can take questions, that'd be great.
I can do that. Okay. So we have 5 amendment proposals here. I'm going to go through these pretty quickly, as Scott said. The first one is regarding executive board quorum. This is pretty much a bookkeeping change to the bylaws. Currently, they define the executive board quorum as 8 members specifically. That is actually a little bit less than 50% now, which is kind of weird. And if we vote today to add another board position, it would be even more less than. This change just amends the bylaws so that we define quorum for the executive board as 50% or more than 50% of the board, basically. And the wording is a little funky in order to take into account vacant positions and whatnot, but it amounts to just over 50%. Amendment 2 is a really minor change regarding the deputy treasurer position. We're just changing what section it's in. Currently, it is mentioned in the section defining the treasurer role, which is a little bit weird because it's a separate role. We're moving it over to the section that defines the Treasury Committee. So otherwise, I don't believe there are any other changes in that text. Yeah. And then Amendment 3 relates to filling a chair vacancy. Currently, the bylaws don't state any requirements on how quickly we need to fill a chair vacancy. So in theory, the vice chair could just kind of sit on it and rule with an iron fist. This change imposes a limit of 45 days after the resignation of the chair, unless the vacancy occurs after September 1st of an even-numbered year, in which case the vice chair can just carry out the term, because at that point, there's really not much value in creating the additional confusion in a federal election year of bringing in a new chair like in October. So that's the extent of that change. Amendment 4 is a little bit more involved. Amendment 4 relates to endorsement of ballot measures. So we kind of have a weird state right now where the endorsement section in the bylaws and in our endorsement rules in general work really well for candidate endorsements, and then ballot measure endorsements are kind of shoehorned in there without really a lot of attention paid to them. And it makes for some painfulness where ballot measures can be brought up at all sorts of times. You know, ballot signature campaigns start up all over the place during the year. It's not like candidates where you sort of have filing week, and that's when everybody, like, you know, you that's when a lot of the action happens. And so the bylaws, as they're written, locking us into, you know, an single endorsement meeting and whatnot, it makes it hard for us to respond rapidly to you know, initiatives, petitions, things like that. So this to address that, we do a couple of things here. First of all, we change how our change what the bylaws says about endorsement rules. We strike the statement that says the board shall propose and the membership shall adopt procedures, because that has no meaning. Like, the bylaws can't require the membership to do something. Shall adopt doesn't make any sense. And we so I'm getting lost in this. And we remove any explicit reference to endorsement rules and simply retain this requirement that any standing rules that we adopt relating to endorsements, they have to, they don't go into effect until 15 minutes following their adoption. So we can always adopt standing rules regarding endorsement procedures. That's a thing we can do always as a body. What we've done here is just make it clear that yes, we can do that anytime we want, but candidates and campaigns have to have 15 days of lead time, essentially, in order to make sure that they're eligible. We can't change endorsement rules out from under candidates or campaigns without giving them fair warning. The next section, 10.7, the only thing we do here is clarify some language around when the when a ballot measure can be endorsed. The previous language referred only to filing of approved ballot language. We've amended that to be a little bit more specific with the referring to the official ballot title, which is something a little easier to pin down when that happens. Or since recall petitions don't really have ballot titles in the same sense, the filing of charges in the case of that. And then in section 8.5 currently says we can't consider resolutions that endorse a candidate or endorse a ballot issue position or censure an individual. We've rewritten that to be more explicit. So, you know, as written, it's like, well, okay, what constitutes an endorsement in a resolution? That's a big open question. What we've done here is we've rewritten it so if somebody submits a resolution that explicitly expresses support for a candidate in a race, we're going to treat that like an endorsement, like a motion to endorse. So we're not going to say you can't submit that resolution, but if you do, it's going to have to comply with the endorsement rules. It's going to have to meet the endorsement vote threshold. And likewise for censure, if somebody tries to censure via resolution, that's going to become a motion to censure. That is Amendment 4. Amendment 5 is one that we all saw in the reorg meeting. This is relating to Policy and Advocacy Committee. This is a proposal to introduce a new standing committee whose committee chair would be a member of the executive board. And the purpose of that committee is, as spelled out here, shall be responsible for organizing members in support of policies in line with the platform and adopted resolutions of the 43rd District Democrats. Where possible, the committee shall work in conjunction with and in support of community organizations and elected officials with similar goals. I think there's others more closer to this committee that could probably speak better to a description of that if we wanted to, or if there's questions on that one.
Yeah, thanks so much for that rundown, Annabelle. Really appreciate it. Do folks have any questions about anything that Annabelle went over? Are there any questions? I know we discussed some of it.
Everybody's eyes just glazed over.
Yeah, yes. I know we discussed some of it last month, and then a lot of it's just bookkeeping. Are there any questions? Oh, I see one from Holly. I have asked you to unmute, Holly.
Can you give me an example of what this new position would do? I mean, it seems a concrete example and why you're adding it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to
go for it, Scott. Yeah.
So the idea behind the new board position is so that we can have someone who, kind of the two main focuses of our organization have been, obviously working with candidates and dealing in elections, getting out the vote, but then also engaging with our current elected officials about our legislative priorities. And so the goals of this position are to have somebody who can help us develop and manage our resolutions process and develop what our legislative priorities are, and then organize our efforts to get folks calling and advocating for those positions once we have them. Does that help answer your question, Holly?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Okay, any other questions? Any other questions? All right, again, if you're having trouble unmuting, please message Morgan or one of the other co-hosts and we can help get that figured out. Okay, hearing no other questions, I guess I will start by asking, are there any objections to adopting these bylaws proposals as is? Are there any objections to adopting all of these proposals? And one last time, any objections? All right, seeing none, we have adopted these bylaws proposals. Thanks so much, Annabelle and Tara. And I'm trying to think of, Annabelle, could you give a shout out to our bylaws committee members who all worked on these?
Yeah, James Williams and Tara and Angel Bender and Scott, you've been involved there, and Brad, our treasurer as well, has been involved there. And thank you, Camille and Linda, for attending some of our discussions and helping us hash out the number 5 there. That was a great help. We really appreciate the engagement and the input.
Yes, absolutely. So, okay, so Annabelle, if you could stop sharing your screen, that would be great.
If I must.
Yes. Awesome. And thank you to all of our members for dealing with the rules and bylaws section of this stuff. I know that's not why we're all here. We care about policy and making people's lives better. So I'm excited to dig into that. So now that we have created a policy chair role, we're going to elect a policy chair. So there was one candidate who submitted a statement before the meeting that was placed on our website. That was Camille Dix, who is here. Are there any other nominations for our policy and advocacy committee chair? are there any other nominations for policy committee chair? Any other nominations? Okay, with that, I will close the nominations. I don't see anything. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize my video is off. So we will close the nominations. So we have one nominee, it's Camille Gix. Camille, do you want to introduce yourself to folks real quick?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Camille. Since I was about 5 years old, I have been sporadically attending 43rd meetings with my dad, who's also here today. And since high school, I've been pretty involved in local politics. I was a field intern when I was a senior for the Washington United for Marriage campaign to legalize marriage for all people. I have recently worked on materials regarding defund the police and community care programs and mutual aid programs. And I would be very excited to be in this role. I am a prospective incoming policy student at the Evans School of Policy at University of Washington. And what I am hoping to do, just to start off, is with this legislative session, there are a lot of organizations that need our help in promoting various bills with Frank Chop, Nicole Macri, and Jamie Peterson. And so I'm really excited to help mobilize this entire group to become part of the committee, help out with our different priorities, and get our legislators and senator to support our interests in the legislative session.
Yeah, thanks so much, Camille. You have a longer history with the 43rd than I do. Wonderful to have Camille. So with that, I would propose we elect Camille by acclamation. Are there any objections to doing so? Any objections? Any objections? All right, congratulations, Camille. Thanks so much for stepping up. And Camille's done a lot of work to help get this committee off the ground already. So I know she's ready to hit the ground running, and we'll be reaching out to all of you to get involved going forward. Awesome. So we are right on track. So we are now to the section of our agenda for committee and representative reports. With that being said, I thought I saw Judge Roberts join the meeting. I do see she's here. Where did you go? There it is. So yeah, Judge Roberts, do you want to say hi and introduce yourself to folks for a couple minutes?
Great, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm coming from another LD, so I hope I'm not throwing off your flow for the evening. Thanks for having me. I'm here tonight because I had the honor of being appointed to the Superior Court by the governor on December 23rd. I swore in on New Year's Eve, and I started working immediately after that. And as I've been appointed, I will need to run to retain my seat this fall. At this point, it is an unopposed campaign, and I hope to keep it that way. So I'll be coming back to you to discuss if you'd be comfortable endorsing me at a later point in the spring. But just to give you an update of how the courts are going, I can tell you in all honesty, this is a difficult time to become a judge. The pandemic has created a massive backlog in our courts. This is a general jurisdiction court, so it handles all matter of things: criminal, civil, family law, dependencies, terminations, involuntary commitments. All of those have been backlogged from the pandemic and the fact that we have to remain socially distanced. But that's also led to the creation of some new ways to access justice. The technologies that we're using for remote hearings are increasing some of the turnout for certain things. And as someone who has worked in the courts for over 22 years, I can tell you that there's a lot of wasted time. And one of the nice things that's actually come from using these remote technologies is folks don't have to take a day off of work and arrange for childcare to come to court for a very brief hearing. So in all likelihood, we will keep some of the remote aspects of these court proceedings long-term, because they're actually making the court run more efficiently and less of an economic impact on folks who can ill afford to deal with that. One of the most disturbing backlogs that we still have to address is over 6,000 pending cases in the criminal realm. Over 1,000 of them have active trial dates. But the good news is the presiding judge for King County just this week is allowing the restart of jury trials for criminal cases, because there's a right to confrontation. It does need to happen in person unless the defendant waives that. So there's a remote jury selection process. And then once jurors are sworn in, they come in person and they're socially distanced for the trial. Civil cases are being handled completely remotely. So I'm happy to answer any questions any of you might have about the proceedings that are going on in King County Superior Court, but mainly I'm just here to say hello and also to let you know who I am and give you some information about my campaign in the chat if you're interested in learning more.
Yeah, thanks so much. If you could send the information you have to Morgan, she will share that out.
Wonderful, I will.
Yeah,
Thanks
so much for joining us, really appreciate it. And with that, I think our other guest is here, Councilmember Teresa Mosqueda. Oh no, I lost her here, I think. Councilmember Mosqueda, are you with us?
I am here. Hello.
Hello, yeah, you have a couple minutes.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. Oh, so sorry, Scott. I didn't want to interrupt you.
No worries. Please go for it. Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. It's wonderful to see so many of your faces. I had the chance to meet with you when I was running 4 years ago, and being in person is so nice to be able to see each other, talk policy, and really catch up on what's going on. And I know we will be able to do that at some point in 2021, but I really appreciate all that you're doing right now to keep folks healthy and safe at home and allowing me to join you via Zoom. For folks that I haven't had the chance to meet, I'm Teresa Mosqueda. Ran for City Council 4 years ago, citywide, position 8. And you all graciously endorsed me. Thank you very much. Every legislative district Democrat organization endorsed me, along with every union, urbanist advocates, transit advocates, environmental justice folks, child care advocates, and working family folks. And I'm really honored to be here tonight and hope to earn your support again. I've had the chance to work with you over the last 4 years. Before that, I was with the Washington State Labor Council, AFL-CIO, and fighting for working families, fighting for sick leave and minimum wage, leading the efforts there. And I said when I ran for office 4 years ago, this is about bringing into the halls of City Hall worker power, standing up for small businesses, fighting for issues that affect especially women and people of color, folks who are trying to raise a family and afford to live in the city. With your support, we've helped to invest record amounts into housing, fight for things like making sure our public land isn't being sold to the highest bidder. When the first piece of legislation that I did was the land disposition bill. With your support, we passed hotel worker health care and guaranteed rest breaks and protection from retaliation. The year before that, we passed Domestic Workers Bill of Rights, which is being used as a national platform from the Jayapal and Harris bill that they introduced. And this last year, with all of your support, we were able to pass Jumpstart progressive payroll tax. This is a progressive tax, and that we're taxing the largest corporations and the largest salaries there. Many years in the making. With all your support, we got it over the finish line. I think I just saw the sign that this was the 2-minute mark. This is my first time coming back to a legislative district, so I'm getting my 2-minute spiel down, but thank you for that support in the past, and really hope to earn your support again for this election.
Yeah, thank you so much, Councilmember Mosqueda. I'm very excited that you're running again. Yeah, thanks for joining us. And yeah, look forward to working with you throughout the rest of the election cycle. I'm sure we'll have all of the council candidates stopping by for a forum of some sort at some time. And want to also give just a shout out, because this is in the news today, the hazard pay for grocery workers. The QFC just up the block from me announced they're closing because of this. but really appreciate what the council has done in protecting our frontline workers and pushing back against that here and across the country. So
thank you very much, Scott. And a party on Thursday at 4:30 for democracy vouchers. We're the first campaign to qualify. So thank you for helping to make history again this time around. Would love to have your support and vouchers.
Absolutely. Yeah. Congratulations on that. So
see you soon, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Councilmember. All right. So jumping back to our reports, I'm going to jump in first here with my chair's report now that we've caught up in the agenda a little bit. Wanted to say I just reiterate how excited I am to work with our new board. We had our first board meeting a couple weeks ago. You all did a really fantastic job in electing folks in January. Really excited to work with everyone, a lot of really talented folks. In addition to that, I have appointed Jessie Murray, who many of you know from her time on our board last year and then run for office for 43rd representative as our I have appointed Jessie as our representative on the King County Democrats Endorsements Committee. So they're working on developing the questionnaires for all of us to use for our endorsements process later this year. And Jessie wanted me to give a brief update that she was not able to make it here, but they have been meeting. They met 3 times over the past week to get those questionnaires together. They'll be being sent to King County Dems for approval later this month. And if anybody wants to provide feedback on questions to include in the interview process, they can get a hold of Jessie, and I will just say, Jessie wanted folks to get a hold of her via the 43rd Slack. We haven't quite opened that up to everybody else yet. That will be coming very shortly. So in the meantime, if you have feedback for Jessie, please, you can send it to me, and I will get that forwarded to Jessie. So that was one announcement I had to make. The other is that I'm going to be, we are convening a committee to look into potentially reestablishing a PAC for the 43rd District Democrats that would allow us to do more spending on things like sample ballots and some of those things that our PCOs have been requesting over the past couple of years. That will be a process. It's not going to happen next month, but we are going to get started with the conversation. There's a lot of work to be done there. So if anybody is interested in being involved in that conversation, if you have strong feelings about it or want to help with that, please let me know. You can email me at chair@43rddemocrats.org. And I will pull you into that conversation. So that'll be a lot of behind the scenes work, and we'll be coming back to this body with more of that in the coming months. But I wanted to make sure you all were aware and ready for that to come up in the future. So with that, we will get to our committee chairs. First on my list is Sam McVitie, our elections committee chair. Sam, do you have an update for us?
Yeah, I'm going to cede most of my time to Ryan, who put together the amazing democracy vouchers FAQ that got sent out to folks. So we're going to spend some time reiterating that. But just other updates on elections committee, we're going to be tracking who has qualified for democracy vouchers and just sort of the state of the primary election so that people can keep track of who has declared and who aligns with the 43rd's values. So over to Ryan to talk more about democracy vouchers.
Thanks, Ham, and hello, everybody, especially those of you who I don't know. I'm Ryan, he, him. And I'm just here for a quick PSA, which is that democracy vouchers started hitting mailboxes on February 9th, so they should be arriving at you soon. As before, you'll get $100 in vouchers in $25 increments, which you can give to one candidate or to 4 candidates or to some combination in between those 2 things. You should get them automatically if you're a registered voter. If not, there are ways to make sure that you do. You can also request vouchers even if you are not a registered voter, if you're a Seattle resident and over the age of 18. You may also see, and you probably already have seen, candidates requesting your signatures or donations in order to qualify for the program. Candidates for mayor need a combination of 600 signatures and 600 donations in order to qualify. And candidates for the at-large council seats and city attorney need 400 and 400. The answers to these questions and a bunch of others that you might have are in the link that Morgan just dropped in the chat. Please do let us know if you have any questions. It was a team effort. Maddie, Sam, Scott, and Kelsey and I all worked on that document, so I'm certainly not the only person responsible. But we hope it's helpful, and yeah, use those vouchers. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much, Ryan. The Democracy Voucher Pack is really useful as a refresher. I know it's been a couple of years since we've had city elections, and recommend that folks, you might know about democracy vouchers, but I bet a bunch of your friends and family who live in the city do not know. So it's a really great way to leverage your impact and support some really great candidates. So up next, sorry, I'm going back to my schedule here, is our PCO committee. Cody Olson is our PCO committee chair.
Yeah, hello. So in the past several weeks since our reorg and since the new year, we've had about 12 folks apply with this link that I'm going to use. I'm going to link right here. We've had about 12 folks apply to be PCO. So that's really cool to see that. And I am kind of working on my end just to get through all the administrative work there. Let me make sure I share that link. Great. If you did not run for PCO last election cycle, but you think that your precinct might be vacant, or if you're not sure if your precinct is vacant, we've certainly had not a ton, but a little bit of shuffling around. There are a couple folks who were elected in November who have since moved out of their precinct. I think that's why we were appointing Paul not too long ago. Super excited to see him stepping up into the PCO role. So feel free to apply if you would like to be PCO on that link, or you can always give me a ring if you're like not sure if you're PCO, if your precinct is vacant. But yeah, that is for the most part what we've been working on. And then the last thing I guess I'll leave folks with is I would absolutely love more help on the PCO committee. If you are either a current PCO who wants to do even more, I would love help kind of having another few pair of hands to help streamline the process and just make sure that we're getting PCOs ramped up as sort of efficiently and as fully as possible. Or alternatively, if you are not a PCO and you want to get more involved, I would say that this is a great avenue. I've probably said it before, but I'll just say it again that I ran for PCO back in 2018 and I ended up losing my race. And so I kind of asked how I could get a little bit more involved, and I ended up being on the PCO committee and then eventually stepping into the chair role. So certainly a good thing to do if you are looking to get more involved, and I would absolutely love to have you. So yeah, links right there. Thank you guys. Oh, I'll shoot my email there too if you don't need the PCO application, but you just want to be more involved in the PCO committee. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Cody. I think you sent out the Democracy Vouchers Pack and not the.
I did.
Yes. Yep. So
Ryan's talk was so good that I was like, man, actually, I could really use that FAQ. So I had copied the link that I wanted to share, but then I ended up clicking on his. So yeah, let me go share the thing I meant to share.
Yeah,
Thanks.
Sounds great. Thanks, Cody. And you absolutely do not need to be a PCO to serve on the PCO committee. So just want to make that clear to folks. Anybody can get involved and get to work there. All right, up next is our membership committee with our membership chair, Bryce Colton.
Hello, everyone. I cannot believe it's been a month. I feel like it's been a whirlwind of learning all of these wonderful things at the exact time we had our reorganization meeting. So a quick thank you to Scott for all the patience and everyone else who's helped me learn the ropes so quickly. We held our first committee meeting for the membership committee, and we talked about a couple of topics. One was looking at a way to craft a non-dues based method besides being elected to PCO of allowing people to become voting members. Workshopping an idea of like, well, maybe you show up to a couple of meetings in a row, you volunteer your time in a committee, or you otherwise actively participate within the 43rd Democrats. We also I have personally, through many emails from people who are a little confused about the topic, noticed that the way that we are currently handling membership as a per annual basis thing may be due for an improvement. So I'm going to look into what's possible for potentially changing up that method or giving alternative methods for accomplishing your membership dues. An idea that I have in particular is maybe having those memberships go for 365 days, so you don't get into this weird position where like you paid in December or November and you're only viable for like 2 months, and then you have to pay again for your dues in the next year. One other thing that the membership committee would like to address is that the 43rd Dems right now skews much older and much whiter than the district as a whole. And we're a little worried that we're missing out on a lot of valuable voices because of that. And I know that that is a concern echoed through a lot of the people here today. So if you want to help brainstorm how we can activate, engage, and get a bunch of other people into the 43rd Democrats, please come to our 43rd membership committee meetings. We don't have a regularly scheduled meeting just yet because it's currently only 3 of us, but it's looking like it'll probably be like a Wednesday or Thursday, maybe the first or second week of the month. That's your membership committee update, and thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much, Bryce. If you could put your email so folks can reach out, that'd be great. And I will just mention to everybody that we are going to do breakouts here in just a little bit based on committees, so you can get a chance to talk to folks in a little more detail about what they're working on. So up next is our meetings and events chair, Morgan McMurray.
Hi, everyone. Not a huge update from me. As you'll note, we are this month instead of so, given Zoom a try, we've had a lot of requests for this platform. So we just want that it fits, all of our needs. Beyond that, we're just tightening up the virtual meeting, as you noted at the beginning of the meeting, to make sure that, things are running as smoothly as possible. Be virtual for the several months at least. Staying positive, but yeah, just expect to be virtual for the foreseeable future. Other than that, as Scott mentioned, we will have breakout rooms for committees for the first time. Don't be shy, hop into a group with your questions, and you will be able to move meeting and into other groups after that. So if anyone has any questions about meetings, I will be in a break. You can shoot me an email and I'll drop my email in the chat. Thanks.
Great. Yeah, thanks so much, Morgan. Okay, up next is our communications chair, Kelsey Hamlin.
Hey everyone, I'm Kelsey Hamlin. I use she, her pronouns. Yeah, basically our latest update, if you haven't already seen them, I'm sure you have. We've been sending emails to your inboxes, ideally a little more frequently, like the handy FAQ, for example. We're also doing Facebook events for these meetings now. So if you would like to like our Facebook page, but also, put attendance on those events, I try to put reminders out for every resolution and proposed item throughout kind of like a week or 2 weeks so that you have time to read up on them and they're good reminders. But as far as what I've done, I have created a page for press releases that is a landing page on our website, and that is also linked on the homepage as well. And I also rearranged the homepage a little bit to be a little more user-friendly and like appealing on the eyes. And yeah, going forward, we definitely want to get like a Hootsuite set up so we can have easy ways to kind of just have plans for our social media outputs, and then using digital tools and setting up our communications committee, which I would really love if you guys would join and throw in ideas and help out. That would be really awesome. And I'm sure you all have a lot of good concepts to put forward anyway. So that's it for me.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kelsey. Yeah, communications is so vital. Like we can do whatever we want here, but Kelsey and the communications committee gets the word out to everybody else and helps us actually make an impact. All right, up next is our fundraising chair, Dawn Daly.
Hey y'all, my name's Dawn, and I've been talking with a few of the fundraiser chair members, and there aren't very many of us at present, but we would love to grow more. if we can grab any of y'all, that'd be great. We are considering options of involving mutual aid with fundraiser chair, with fundraising for the 43rd, and to show how the 43rd registered voters and the 43rd Democrats really care about the mutual aid and all of the needs that are happening right now with the income disparity and the social and racial justice disruptions that are happening because of this pandemic crisis that we are all going through, and how it's really affected us. And we would like to involve small businesses and the arts and culture into some interactive and engaging virtual public programming until Governor Inslee allows us to have larger spaces and in-person events. If anybody would like to be involved in that process, we would really appreciate that. There's 3 of us right now, and we are really trying to find that balance of amplifying mutual aid needs out there on the streets, as well as amplifying the 43rd and finding that cohesive relationship. So if y'all would like, I'm going to put my email out here, and please join me. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Dawn. Really appreciate it. Okay, up next are our King County reps. So we have Tara and Efren are our 2 reps, and then Inquita and Shahid are our 2 alternates. So Tara and Efren, do you have an update from King County?
Efren deferred it to me. Not a lot to report right now. Had the first meeting last month, and it being a first meeting of the new cycle, it was mostly a lot of business. The main thing is the meeting next week of King County. We'll be voting on conservation district endorsement. We heard from some candidates here tonight because the 43rd won't endorse. We have nothing to go on that would indicate the feeling of the district to inform our vote. So if you have any thoughts about that race, I'll drop our emails, or at least Efren and mine, into the chat. And if you have any other questions about King County, let us know, and we'll have more to report back next time.
Great. Yeah, thanks so much. All right, and then our last one up is our state committee members. So that's Amy Madden and Sean Scott, and I see Amy is here to give us a report back.
Yes, hello. Hi, everyone. Kind of a lot to cover, so I'll try to move through as quickly as I can. So one of the main reasons I ran for this position was to help reform the vote builder policy. Because I and others believe that it so far has been inequitable. And we made absolutely huge strides forward with that. As I sent in an email to the PCOs, several local party leaders, including Sean Scott and I, Chair Scott Alspa, Nicole Gomez, other state committee members from around the Puget Sound area, we met with Chair Podlodowski to discuss equity goals for the coming term, especially regarding vote builder policy. And I'm really optimistic about the changes we're looking at with this policy that will enable candidates from underrepresented communities to have more of the support they need, and to enable them to contribute to party building. Stay tuned for much more details. We're currently going through the process of providing feedback to Tina about details about what a new policy would look like. And we're starting to really get into the weeds of hammering out different options. And I'm just incredibly excited about the work that's going on with this, and grateful to everybody who's working on it. So at our state reorganization meeting, we did have an election. We elected Tina Podlodowski, re-elected, I should say, to be the state party chair. She won by a large margin. We re-elected David Green as vice chair. David has been doing incredible work on the national level when it comes to climate justice, including helping to found the National Climate Caucus that has been pushing the DNC on climate justice issues. And then we elected Julie Johnson as our treasurer, and Julie is one of the most incredible leaders within the Indigenous communities of Washington State, and we're very lucky to have her. And of course, we elected the 43rd's very own Rob Dolan to continue on as secretary for the party. a number of us did some organizing, and we were able to elect Munya Chero for the executive board position representing the 7th congressional district. We're really excited about getting young voices of color at the table with these executive decisions that are made. Munya is going to be an incredible board member, and I'm so glad to have him representing our congressional district. I helped organize and put together talking points teams and got the Washington Strong resolution passed. That's in support of green bonds at the state level, which is why I submitted it for our meeting tonight for us to consider as well. We also passed a resolution on rail expansion. And then finally, I'm going to touch on there was a bylaws change that was highly controversial. So our bylaws, when as they refer to different genders, it can put a limit on the number of men who serve, and that's historically kind of helped to carve out space for women. But at this point, as we've personally experienced, it sometimes puts a limit, puts restrictions on how many women can serve. And I think we're all in agreement that that's not an equitable policy. And so Scott Forbes read a resolution that we're going to be talking about later tonight that where we will give you more information on what we can do to make this better, make this situation better, and what we can do to move toward having a restorative gender policy in the party where we're not reserving spaces for men anymore. But communities can elect and support as many women, non-binary folks, and folks of other genders as they wish. So more on that later. I think that's about it. Does anyone have questions?
All right. Not seeing any questions right now, but I know Amy would be happy to answer those over email as well. And do just want to give a shout out to our state committee members, Sean and Amy. There's a lot of, we finished reorg, and then immediately after that, they had essentially a week and a half of straight meetings and had a lot of work to do to represent us, and did a really great job at that. So thanks so much for that. So with that, we're gonna do some quick breakout sessions so we all get a chance to talk to each other, and folks can find out a little more about committee work that you might be interested in helping out with. And so Morgan's going to go over how that's going to work for all of us.
So first time using in this way, which allows everyone to choose their own rooms, I did assign the committee chairs. It will be in there. You won't just be left to your own devices. But, I want to encourage you all to choose a room. Even if you don't think you're completely ready to commit to a committee, this by no means, it makes you, a locked-in member of one. You will also be able to return to the main room at any time. Scott, you'll be here, correct?
Yes.
There are any, I'm going to open up the chat. I'm going to open up your ability to unmute yourselves. So you will have, don't abuse it. We'll take it away. But if there are any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. If we're ready, I can open them up.
Yeah, that sounds great. So we're going to open up breakout rooms. We will go until 8:40 is when we'll call folks back from the breakout rooms. So Morgan, have they been opened?
Going to open chat and unmuting.
Awesome. Yeah, so there will be a breakout room for each committee. We encourage you, everybody, to join one, get to know the committee chair, hear what they're up to, and get involved. So our organization is powered by volunteers, and if we want to accomplish all of our goals this year, we're going to need your help. So encourage you to choose a room that interests you, and sounds great. So
opening them up.
All right. Awesome. So everybody should be able to join a room by hitting the breakout rooms down at the bottom. I see people are disappearing into rooms. if you need to message me, I can help assign you to a room. We have elections, fundraising, PCO, membership, communications, tech, and then meetings and events. Oh, I think we are missing a policy breakout room. Are we able to create that, Morgan?
Sure.
I'd like the policy one.
Yes.
Who's leading that? I don't think I had it on my list.
Yeah, that will be Camille.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I
that got
didn't have because we weren't ready. I might have to close them to add one. So
Okay. Do we want to turn the meetings and events one into the policy one for now?
sure. Otherwise, I was gonna say we could stay in this main room too.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that could work. All right, so why don't we do that and we'll just stay in this big room for the policy.
So we don't go anywhere?
Yes. Does that sound good?
So
Is
if you
Camille in the?
you should choose
Camille
another.
is here.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah, so I can't join. I don't know how to join. Do you double click or click on it or what?
Yeah, I don't have the option up. Which one are you looking to join?
Well, I just want to know how to do it. I'm not sure. It'd just be nice to know how to do it. I guess that somebody's figured it out, but not me.
There should be at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, I see the list. I see the list, but I don't know what to do with the
The
list.
name of the committee you're interested in, to the right, there'll be a number when you mouse.
Oh, okay. There it says join. Okay, great. Thanks.
Awesome. Yes. So folks, please feel welcome to join some other rooms. It looks like there's a bunch of folks in many of them. And Camille, I will let you take it away here in the policy room. If folks need help with anything, please message me and I'll give you help up there.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm excited to see that there seems to be quite a lot of interest in the policy committee. We are in a legislative session now, as a lot of you probably know, and there is a lot to do. So we're hoping to get a pretty big committee working towards some priorities. Going into this meeting, I've been working with a few people, starting to brainstorm if this committee were to be installed, what some of our priorities during this legislative session could be. And so we are working on a list or kind of some general areas of focus, and then some specific bills that we think that we should support. So just to kind of introduce what our initial ideas for priorities are, we've talked about progressive taxation. We've got quite a few bills out there, including a wealth tax, capital gains tax that have been proposed that we think should be of top priority, as well as policies regarding safe, affordable, and accessible housing, policies involving community investment in schools and small businesses and BIPOC communities, criminal justice system accountability, and climate justice are the 5 areas of focus that we have identified as being the most important during this legislative session. But of course, we hope that this committee will be able to pitch in and give their ideas on that as well as some House bills and Senate bills that they think should be of priority. And some different areas of focus as far as tasks that we will be working on are things like talking to our representatives to let them know about these different priorities, signing in and giving testimony in the public hearings, and talking to the membership to get as many people as possible involved in talking to our representatives and giving testimony as possible. But I would love to see if there are any questions. Yeah, Holly.
I'm with the environmental caucus of the 43rd District Democrats, and we're pretty active. I don't know if you know that, in looking at various policies and pushing various policies. And one of the questions I had is, you know, we go out to our particular members and our Facebook and so forth, but is there a way of engaging the rest of the membership directly on pushing, you know, getting people to, you know, for example, one of the big bills right now is healthy homes and clean buildings, and it's in appropriations, and, you know, we need people to reach out, not to CHOP, but to people they might know in other districts who are whose representatives are on the appropriation committee. And it would be great, you know, to have a broader number of people. I know there's a lot of people who care about climate change in our district. So how is it that we can engage with the larger group on these issues?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I guess.
Yeah, I've been talking to Bryce and Kelsey. They're both interested as well. Obviously, they can't be here because they are in their own committee meetings, but they are both interested in partaking in some of the work that we do in this committee. And so Bryce being the chair of the membership and Kelsey being chair of communications, I think there's a lot of possibilities to be able to get information out to the entire membership and to the district as a whole on different, like what we should be advocating for as a membership with our legislators. Does that answer your question, or?
Yeah, it would just be great if we could. I mean, we spend a lot of time looking into these bills and so forth, and coming up with the ones that should get support, and we need to see go forward so we can fight this crisis that's going to have economic impact on everyone more than the pandemic, unfortunately. Yeah, so it'd be nice to have a big. So if there's some way we can do that, that would be great.
Yeah, definitely. I'm hoping to schedule our first official committee meeting for sometime later this week so that we can get started, because there are a lot of things that are in committee that will need to be passed by February 22nd. And so including another one that we got reached out to today by the ACLU is the House Bill 1499, which is the Pathways to Recovery Act to decriminalize drugs in Washington State. And that one is also in committee right now and needs to be passed by February 22nd. So there's a lot of stuff that we can get started on right away. And so hopefully towards the end of this time, we can decide on or kind of vote on a meeting time for later this week so that we can get started on that work. Arvia, did you have a question?
Well, I was going to make a comment, which is that, you know, I think the fastest way to communicate information to the larger group is on the 43rd District Facebook page. So that's what is it called? Is it the community page, or what page? What is that group called? Does someone know?
There's the 43rd District Democrats Forum, is what it's called.
Yeah, the forum. Yeah. So I think that, you know, when we post things there, we can just say, in our opinion, you know, it's a long, some things we've endorsed and passed resolutions on, but the majority of things we haven't. And so we can't really speak for the whole group there on the forum. But I think that, you know, if you really know about an issue and you want to get the word out to the larger group, the forum is really a good place to post. On the other side of that is the idea that really the people who focus on, like my issues, the environment. So I tend to focus first on the Environmental Caucus page because the people that read that Facebook page are or they're probably going to be more active with the environment. So I post there first. But if we want to engage the larger group and try to pick up more people, broaden the awareness of an issue, I think the forum is a good place to go. And we should probably use that more. And I just wanted to make one last comment, is that, you know, you have to look at where the money goes. And a lot of the money, especially like a lot of the money is going into the transportation budget. And that is, the transportation budget is such a huge issue for environmental justice, for the environment in general. And, you know, I'm not an accountant, but that's where the power is. So I'm just going to try to make it my business as much as possible to understand that transportation budget and how to get it to work for us. You know, a lot of things sound nice, but it gets down to what you fund. And so understanding how the money's flowing, I think, is tactically an incredibly important thing to do. And I want to get better at that. So I'm putting that out, that I look to this group to try to get better at that. And I'll try to learn things that I can share with people. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you. David.
Yeah, the problem with the way the bills move through the legislature, it's like trying to hit a moving target. Because the bill, I mean, okay, so we can, at the beginning of the legislative session, you know, we can endorse maybe back in the fall when there's somebody who says they're going to introduce a bill to do such and such. But by the time it makes it through the gyrations of a couple of different committees and hits the Senate floor, how is the committee going to make decisions in time? And given that the legislation could be complete garbage by the time it gets to the floor, or at least, you know, that there's a group of people in this organization that think it's garbage because it's changed so much. You know, now I'm a member of the Transit Riders Union and I get a list of bills to sign in pro on, but we've kind of decided that that's the way we're going to do it. We're just going to get a list from the general secretary, and you know, you snooze, you lose. I didn't comment yesterday and the committee hearings were today. So things are, and especially as the bills reach the final point to make it out of committee, things are moving really fast.
Yeah, it's definitely, the issue of timeliness is definitely important. Paul maybe can explain this better, but on the document that we've started putting together for the different bills, we are planning to track certain, like obviously there are lots and lots of bills out there that could use support, but we want to narrow it down to about 5 to 6 bills per area so that we can properly track them, and if we have enough people in different subcommittees. And then Paul put together a kind of how to submit written testimony, how to sign in pro for different bills. I don't know, Paul, you have your hand raised, so you might want to talk more to that.
Yeah, it's definitely a problem with the way that Washington legislature operates. You know, I think the reality is here, and you know, I haven't been involved with the 43rd Democrats for more than a few years, so I may not have all the history like Camille does, but you know, I think that having this committee will help us do a better job of identifying legislation and then communicating that out to the membership in blast ways where we can say, hey, you know, this bill is now changed, you know, we think that these changes aren't good, or these changes are great. Please, you know, contact your legislature pro or against on it, and here's contact information for them. And so, you know, without a committee, it's harder for us to just get involved in communicating that legislature out from a 43rd Dems perspective. Yeah, as Camille was saying, you know, we've got instructions on how to do the go pro or against with our 3 legislatures. The committees are a harder thing to track, and particularly in this session, we're getting to it a little bit late with the first round of committee hearings closing actually yesterday evening, I think. but yeah, acknowledge the whole thing is a challenge. Fortunately, though, Camille is going to get a master's degree that has a course in how to understand the Washington State Legislature process. So we're going to be in good hands here.
Yes, let's hope. Yeah, so I think that we're about to wrap up these breakout rooms. So if you are interested, Lila, you can, yeah.
Yeah, hi. I was going to ask a question. Hello, everyone. My name is Leela, but I guess we're ending now, so maybe I can just email you, Camille, or?
Yes, I just put my email in the chat. So anyone that is interested in coming to our committee meeting that we will hopefully have by the end of this week, send me an email and we will put together a solid time to meet up.
Leela, what's your question? Can you say it quickly?
I was just going to say that as a woman of color, I feel that with the legislation in this country has come a long way, from affirmative action all the way to economic entrepreneurship, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like there hasn't been so much emphasis on education in the primary and secondary level. And I was wondering if we could talk about that, because by the time scholars get to the tertiary level, it's too late to if you want to socialize people to not be xenophobic or not be misogynist or homophobic. And I feel that if you're really going to want to tackle race, you have to really start with primary and secondary education. And I appreciate the, Washington Referendum 90, but, there's a whole much deeper work that needs to be done. Sorry for talking too long.
No, great, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely not. So yeah, thank you. I see everybody is joining us again. I hope you had a good breakout session. We were meeting with the policy committee here in this room. So just to wrap that up very briefly, Camille, if you could put your email in the chat again. If folks could email Camille to get involved with the policy committee, they are trying to get started up and running in the next week or so. So really encourage folks to do that if you are with us in the policy committee, or if you are in another breakout room and want to get involved there. So wonderful. So I hope you all had productive breakout sessions. We are going to get into our resolutions here. So the first one up is a resolution in support of the Washington Strong resolution, or legislation, sorry. We are doing a resolution, but it is a legislation. So I think Amy Madden is the sponsor of this resolution. Amy, do you want to give us an overview of the resolutions and the Washington Strong proposal?
Yes. So if you have the resolution in front of you, if anybody wants to post the link into the chat for ease for everybody.
I think I just did that. Sorry, I didn't label it.
Okay. I will go ahead and read the therefores. So this passed unanimously at the State Central Committee meeting several weekends ago now. It's a resolution in support of the Washington Strong Act, a green bonds program to fuel economic recovery and to fund climate solutions. And I'm just going to read the therefores. Therefore, be it resolved that the 43rd LD Democrats urge the Washington State Legislature to fully support the Washington Strong Green Recovery Bill. And be it further resolved that the 43rd Democrats call on our legislators to direct funds from the Green Recovery Bill using the HEAL Act, the Washington State Health Disparity Map, recommendations from the Environmental Justice Task Force, and emerging socioeconomic data from the coronavirus crisis to inform decision-making and prioritize spending on communities that have historically been most impacted by environmental harm. And then finally resolve that we want to send a copy of this to our leaders. So I believe Erin Tam is on the line with us tonight too, and Erin can help me answer questions.
Yeah, I think we have to unmute Aaron real quick.
All right, thanks, Scott. My name is Aaron. I am a board member of Carbon Washington, and Amy has invited me to come on to answer any questions that you guys might have about Washington Strong.
Yeah, Aaron, could you give us like a 1-minute overview of what Washington Strong is?
Sure. So the Washington Strong Act immediately provides a multi-billion-dollar dedicated investment to do transition to a sustainable economy without leaving anyone behind. Essentially what it does is it creates a fiscally responsible green recovery program that allows our state to immediately invest in infrastructure our communities desperately need to prepare for the climate crisis. Because the funding for critical projects like school ventilation upgrades and hospital energy efficiency improvements is available immediately, the construction of these necessary projects can start right away and play a vital role in jumpstarting our economic recovery. So it generates billions of dollars for climate cautious investment to create thousands of family wage jobs in our hardest hit communities and allows us to tackle both the economic and climate crisis.
Great, thanks, Aaron. So are there any questions from folks about either the resolution or the legislative proposal?
Not seeing any hands.
Yeah, not seeing any questions. So with that, we can move to a debate. So Amy, do you want to go first and speak in favor?
Sure.
Great, go for it. You have a minute.
Okay,
Morgan, sorry, Morgan, are you ready to time things?
Sorry, I had it set at 2. Let me get that ready to go. Okay, go ahead.
Great, yeah, go for it, Amy.
So as you know, I'm Amy Madden, state committee member representing the 43rd Democrats, but I'm also on the Environment and Climate Caucus board, the statewide board, and also vice chair of the Economic Justice Caucus. So this bill is very important to me. The Washington Democrats platform says that we need to reach net zero carbon economy by 2050. We need to take aggressive action now to prevent further global climate change. And the Washington Strong bill is the kind of action we call for in our platform. We're facing multiple crises of the climate emergency, devastating economic impacts of COVID, ongoing inequities with racial justice. And the Strong program allows us to accelerate investments immediately to address these crises in a just manner. It would raise more than $16 billion to be provided as direct investment into these communities, into struggling communities, and it has the potential to create upwards of 150,000 jobs by providing.
Awesome, yeah, thank you so much, Amy. All right, are there any speakers against the resolution? Okay, I see Holly raising your hand on video, so go for it, Holly. I'm looking for you here.
Hi. Yeah, I'm not against Washington Strong. My concerns and the reason I don't want to vote for it is I see a polarization happening in the legislature and how best to tax carbon and get equity, justice, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And I'm very concerned that this polarization will result in us not getting any kind of major bill to move forward on these issues. And I would have preferred to see something that says that we urge the 2 different major bills, the Carlisle bill and this bill, those parties to get together and come up with something that's going to be satisfactory for both parties. I've also heard that both bills have problems with equity justice still, and making that Okay.
Great. Yeah, thank you, Holly. Is there another speaker in favor of the resolution? And if folks could raise their hand on Zoom, that would help me quite a bit. Amy, I see your hand is up.
Could I cede time to Aaron?
You cannot because you have already spoken. If somebody else wanted to do that, they could do that. I got a question from Efren that what the build numbers are, and I hope that Aaron or Amy, if you could send that to Morgan in the chat, we can share those out. So Paul, I see your hand is up. Oop.
Am I unmuted yet?
You are, yes.
Okay. Can I cede my time to Aaron?
You may, if you would like to do that, yes.
I would like to. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Paul. I just want to say that you guys as advocates play a very important role in what the legislature advocates for. And, you know, there are a lot of similarities between the Washington Strong Act and the Climate Commitment Act, the Cap and Trade Act. They essentially both do the same job of putting investments into climate adaptation and climate mitigation, but they're just, the pricing mechanism is mutually exclusive. And the Green Bonds bill allows us to invest immediately, and Front and Centered and other environmental justice groups have opposed cap and trade. And that is inherently at the root of the issue. They essentially do the same thing in providing investments, but we have a say in how we make those investments and whether or not they damage frontline communities. And so this does not have any offsets involved, and it allows us to invest immediately and stimulate local economies through this bond mechanism. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Aaron and Paul. Are there any other speakers opposed? I see Al Lee's hand is up. Al, are you speaking opposed? And if folks aren't able to raise their hand in Zoom, please just send me a direct message. If you're raising your hand in just in person like this, I can't see everybody's screen at once, so want to make sure we're doing that. Ace, I got your message. Al, sorry. I have to ask Al to unmute.
Okay.
Hello. Yeah. Are you speaking against?
I'm speaking against, yes.
Okay, go for it.
So we've had two initiatives statewide that were also carbon taxes, like this is fundamentally being funded by. And while I love all the uses of the money, as usual, we're not focusing on how we're collecting the money and is it sufficiently progressive. The advantage of cap and trade is it actually has a chance of being a slightly more progressive in how it addresses the cost of carbon. And this is a straight $25 per ton fee is got all the problems of the previous two things of being highly regressive. There are exceptions in here. And maybe if you can explain to me how somebody living in Renton can drive to work with their pickup truck and have it not hit them, maybe I'll come around to it. But my problem is this is exactly the same very regressive tax we had on the last two carbon tax proposals. And those were shot down statewide. And I don't see how we get around that with this proposal, even though there's a ton of great ideas of how to spend the money. The question is how we collect the money, and collecting the money is not sufficiently progressive. That's it.
Okay, yeah, thanks. So then Leah had their hand up, and I think Leah has a question that we can hopefully get answered really quickly.
Hi, my name's Leah, and my question is, under the Strong Act, who would be paying? I'm just not that clear on what the act is.
Yeah, Aaron, can you answer that?
Yeah, so similar to a cap and trade, both of them charge at the first transaction. These are fossil fuel distributors, large corporations. We can't trust them to absorb all the costs of creating a sustainable energy economy. The Washington Strong Act does have multiple safeguards to benefit vulnerable populations, as Amy said, and frontline communities, and invest those dollars. So it specifically puts that out and has an economic justice and environmental justice panel. And they are working on a vehicle for a working families tax rebate. Unfortunately, due to our regressive tax system, we have a difficult time trying to come up with a rebate system, but that is currently under development as well.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that. All right, so we had, I see Jean's hand up. Jean, I'm asking you to unmute.
Hi, yeah, I have a question. So were you saying that, so the argument against was it's not progressive enough in terms of the way the tax is raised, but was the counter argument that the amount of money taken, like assuming it is regressive, that it's offset by the amount of money funneled back into those communities?
I will just say that yes, that is a fair characterization of the arguments that have been made so far. Okay, so then I had Ace message me that he wanted to speak for. So we have one more speaker for and one against. So I'm asking Ace to unmute.
All right, thank you everyone. This is Andrew Grant Houston, also known as Ace. In my background, I'm also a board member of FutureWise. And so this is something where in my day-to-day, I engage and I organize with other environmental groups, and that includes Front and Centered. And when it comes to legislation like this, I really look to BIPOC-led organizations to really lead the way as to what is truly progressive and is going to do the most benefit for their communities who look like me. I think something to keep in mind as well with this, which I am in full support of, is that this does not preclude us from making another resolution in support of the cap and trade bill. That's a separate argument that I feel like is not that substantial to this argument, which is whether or not we support this specific policy. I believe that it is definitely within our right to have something separate, but currently as this is written, it does not preclude us from having another piece of legislation similar to it.
Great, yeah, thank you so much. Okay, and then we have space for one more speaker against. Al, I see your hand is up. Is that from earlier or?
No, that's just, I want to make sure I didn't mischaracterize the bill. It is, I mean, I quickly read it, the proposal, and I just want to make sure I'm right in reading it as just a straight, for revenue, just a straight 25 per ton with inflation carbon tax, just like the previous two initiatives that failed. I just want to make sure I'm right in that, and I'm not misreading it.
I believe that is correct, but Aaron, please correct me if I'm wrong about it being a $25 price per ton. All right, I think that's where we're at. Okay, is there another speaker against? Is there another speaker against? There doesn't have to be. If there isn't, we'll just go to a vote. Is there another speaker against? Okay, seeing no speakers against, we will move to a vote on the resolution. With Annabelle has the voting forms. Sorry, I was trying to think of who would be sharing those. Annabelle, could you put the voting form for this resolution into the link or into the chat?
Yes, I can. That is the voting form. It should be open for votes. Scott, how long are we holding the ballot box open for?
Yeah, so let's give it 5 minutes. I also don't see the link in the chat if you put it there.
Oh, that's because I sent it to who the what? Apparently I sent it to John Beto. He's got it.
All right, we will get that out to everybody.
Let's
thanks for
try
messaging
that
me, everyone.
again. Thanks, Zoom.
Yes, so that's the Washington Strong resolution ballot form there. So let's
Yes.
keep this open for 5 minutes until 9:05. We'll just round up. And we will get started on our next resolution. Thanks everybody. This is our first test run of our new debate rules. I'm going to ask everybody to please ask questions when the resolution is being introduced and discussed, so we don't interrupt debate in the future. So we're all learning, me too, but going to make that ask for this next one. So the next one up is resolution in support of the Shama Solidarity campaign. And that is being introduced by Ellen Eads, Amy Madden, and Paul Chapman. So Ellen or Paul, do you want to introduce the resolution?
Yeah, thank you, Scott. So I'm going to just read the therefores. This is a resolution that is in support of Kshama Sawant against the recall campaign, which is currently being run, largely sponsored by big business and very undemocratically. So the therefores that we have are, therefore be it resolved that the 43rd LD Democrats stand in full support of Councilmember Sawant in opposition to the recall effort, and be it further resolved that the 43rd LD Democrats condemn attempts to override the democratic votes of the people by using recall campaigns rooted in policy disagreements rather than material actions of malfeasance or misfeasance. And be it finally resolved that a copy of this resolution be submitted to the Seattle City Council, CM Sawant, Mayor Durkin, and Seattle Media.
All right. Great. Thanks for that. I hope folks are getting a chance to read the resolution. We put it in the links. Are there any questions about the resolution or the recall campaign, this Shama Solidarity campaign? I see Annabelle has a hand raised. Annabelle, go for it. And actually, really quickly, Annabelle, some folks are messaging me that they would like to speak in favor or against. Please hold off on that, and I will ask everybody to raise their hands when we get to the debate. So I can't take reserved slots in advance. Okay, Annabelle, go for it.
Yeah, I just want a point of order that I believe this constitutes a resolution to endorse a, I guess, a no position on the recall petition, and so should meet the 60% threshold required for endorsements.
Yes, that is a great point and well taken. So this is directly related to a measure that may or may not be on the ballot in the future, and there will be signature gathering going on. So
it's a campaign to get it on the ballot. So
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So this will require a 60% threshold to pass.
I will point out that being able to take votes like this is part of the reason why we made that bylaws change earlier tonight. So thank you everybody for making that sensible change so we can respond timely to this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Annabelle. All right, Jean has their hand up.
Yeah, I have a question about the recall. It was my understanding that the reasons stated for the recall was a misuse of like $2,500 city dollars that were appropriated for her office use that was used for a campaign. Is that right?
I believe so, but I will let the resolution sponsors answer that.
Is Emily MacArthur on?
I do see Emily here.
Sorry, just trying to figure out how to do the unmute. So this charge is basically a thought crime where the goalpost was moved on previous things where consciously Councilmember Sawant always checks with the Office of Ethics and Commissions before taking action. And she organized with the Tax Amazon movement of how can we win progressive funding, which we did. And in that action conference, there was a discussion from activists that maybe something in our tool belt for how we can win is to have a ballot initiative, which was a tool that we used, and we collected 30,000 signatures at the Black Lives Matter protests. And after the fact, because the activists at that movement brought up this idea of a ballot initiative, money that the office spent on pizza and bottled water was cited as being used in an improper way to support a ballot initiative. And I think, you know, the Office of SEC has rejected these charges, and now they've been brought to the courts. But I think they're just patently false.
Thanks for that, Emily. All right, are there other questions? Last call for questions. Also, last call to vote in the Washington Strong resolution. I see Derek has his hand up.
I just had a question. Has the Supreme Court ruled on this yet? Are we still waiting on it? So just to understand the process, I'm not sure if the Supreme Court has ruled on this yet. And then after, let's say they rule that it can go forward, then the next step is now the other side, or the recall Sawant side, has to get a bunch of signatures. If they accomplish that, then it's on the ballot, and then we vote on it in November or something. I just don't quite know where we're at in the process and what the whole process is.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great question. So my understanding is that the Supreme Court has not ruled on the charges yet. I don't know if we know when that will be coming up. And then yes, the pro recall side will have to gather a number of signatures. They'll have a certain period of time to do that, and then it will be on the ballot. It does not necessarily need to be on the August or November ballot. It could become a separate election, is my understanding. So if one of the resolution sponsors, if I got something wrong there, please correct me, but I think that's where we're at. Okay, any other questions? Any other questions? Had some good ones. Okay, so not seeing any questions, we'll ask for speakers for and against. So if folks could raise their hand, I've gotten some messages here, but it'd be great. Okay, so I'm going to defer to the sponsor of the resolution here for our for speech. So Paul, do you want to go first, or I'm not sure if you're yielding your time to someone.
Ellen was gonna
Okay.
go first, I thought.
All right, great. Ellen, go for it.
Okay.
All right.
I would like to yield my time to Mike O'Brien.
Okay. Let's see. Mike O'Brien is here in the meeting. I'm asking Mike to unmute.
Thanks, Scott.
Hello.
Thank you, Ellen. Hi, everyone. Mike O'Brien. For those that don't know me, I'm a former Seattle City Council member, served on the council for 10 years. Had the pleasure of being a colleague with Councilmember Sawant for 6 of those years. I want to tell you that someone who cares about progressive values, she's an amazing colleague. Don't get confused by the rhetoric for people that disagree with her policy that say she's hard to work for. She's committed to her values, and when those values align, she's a great ally. But she doesn't make the easy compromises that have bogged down our political system and ended up where we are. Specifically on the recall, as you all have seen, we have a democratic process to elect people. Councilmember Sawant has been elected 3 times now, once citywide and twice in her district. I think it's a flaw of our system that people with money can go out and when they lose the election, then continue to endlessly do recall notices and frankly distract Councilmember Sawant and her supporters from doing the work that they are hired to do. That probably speaks to the fact that we should both turn down this initiative and also change the rules on how these happen.
Great, thank you so much, and great to have you with us for Councilmember O'Brien. Really appreciate it. Okay, do we have a speaker against? Somebody messaged me if you could raise your hand again. My chat has
But it looks like Eileen Simpkins is having trouble finding the raise hand button, but she did say she wanted to speak against.
Great. Could you unmute Eileen then?
There you go.
Sorry about that. I'll get better at Zoom apparently.
No worries. Go ahead.
I'm Eileen Simpkins. I'm the PCO for the 43rd 1983, and I would like to speak against this resolution specifically because I would like to speak for some of my neighbors in my precinct area who have been involved in this recall effort. And I think the most important thing is that I point out that it's not trying to undo the results of the election. I don't know any of my neighbors who are just voting to recall, or to actually more specifically put the recall on the ballot because they disagree with Councilperson Swant. Instead, there are actually 4 specific measures of wrongdoing that have been accepted by the court. And one of those things that I believe Emily mentioned was use of $2,000 in funds, but that is minor compared to the 2 largest ones. One in that she unlocked City Hall, which was closed because of COVID, and encouraged a very large crowd of people to assemble there against the governor's request. And also, most importantly, that she publicized the mayor's address, which was specifically being protected because of the mayor's safety. And she led a group of protesters to her house, which put the mayor in danger.
Yeah, Eileen, thanks. I think we ran out of time there. Yeah.
Sorry, but that's why.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, do we have another speaker for? I see some hands.
I'd like to speak.
Yeah, go for it, Amy.
Hi, everyone. Oh, hello?
I think you're good.
Okay, sorry, let me get a timer going.
I got you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I wanted to speak a little bit about, so I went to an event in solidarity with Indigenous leaders, labor leaders, young leaders of color that marched from a park to Mayor Durkan's neighborhood. And I went to that because it was being run by Indigenous leaders who I'm friends with. And when they ask me to do something, I do it. And these are people who are elders to me, and I respect them very deeply. They were the ones who were very much in charge of this action. It was peaceful, it centered voices of color, and Shama gave a moving speech, but she did not lead the rally. It was led by young leaders of color, and it was led by Indigenous elders. And I also wanted to add that, people from underrepresented communities like mine, we work very, very hard to elect representatives that help us feel like we have a seat at the table. And this recall effort feels like our voices are being removed, and by notorious right-wing billionaires like Martin Selig and leaders of anti-union efforts.
I think that's time.
Okay.
So
thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Okay, is there another speaker against? Is there another speaker against? Paul is not speaking against. Is there another speaker against? Okay, so if we don't have another speaker against, we will move to a vote on the resolution. Okay, so not seeing a message or a hand. Annabelle, could you share the voting link in the chat?
I am on it.
Great. And once we get that voting code out, we'll have Annabelle share the results from the previous resolution.
All right, that should be out there in chat.
Okay. Yep, just want to make sure folks see that. Vote no or yes. No is listed first, just be aware of that. So with that, Annabelle, do you have results from our previous resolution? We'll leave this one open for another 5 minutes, and I think that'll give us enough time to get through our last resolution, which might not need a vote.
Yeah, the results for the resolution on Washington Strong is 36 in favor and 4 opposed.
Okay, so that resolution is approved by the membership. Thanks, everybody, and thanks for bringing that, Amy and Aaron and others. With that, folks should hopefully be voting on the Shawmut Solidarity resolution, and we will get through our last one here very quickly. So I think Scott Forbes is here, who is the sponsor of this resolution. Did we get him unmuted?
Yes.
Okay, great. So yeah, Scott, do you want to explain your resolution?
Yeah, and Amy Madden mentioned earlier that the state party passed a bylaws change at their January meeting that is somewhat controversial. So I will read the be it resolved clauses of the resolution and then talk briefly about why it was controversial. So therefore be it resolved that the 43rd District Democrats condemn the state party's bylaws change as unnecessarily limiting the election of women and non-binary candidates into local party leadership roles, as a change enacted without full consideration of its impact on those it purports to help, and as contrary to our party's values and principles. And be it further resolved that the 43rd District Democrats hereby adopt a written rule finding it impracticable to interpret or enforce state party bylaws in any manner that limits the number of women or non-binary candidates eligible to hold office. And be it further resolved that the 43rd District Democrats fully support efforts by our state committee members to seek further changes to the state party bylaws, such that the state party bylaws are amended to acknowledge patriarchy and to implement a restorative gender policy, which ends policies that effectively reserve seats for men and allows as many people of other genders to serve in leadership roles as the organization wishes. And be it finally resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be sent to the state party chair, state party secretary, the members of the state rules and bylaws committee, and the state committee members from each local party organization. So historically, and this comes as no surprise to anyone, men have been overrepresented in party leadership roles. And that's been the case for decades, if not centuries or millennia. And so the state party has had bylaws in place to try to address that and try to correct that. We've had rules that have said that we had to have a state committee man and a state committee woman. Within the past 5 years, the state party has started to recognize that gender is not a binary and has begun recognizing that non-binary people exist. And so these rule changes are sort of part of that series. But what's happened here, and the other thing that has happened within the past couple of months, 3 legislative districts, including our sister district, the thundering 36th, have elected women as both their chair and vice chair. And so now we have a situation where this rule change, which says that the chair and vice chair of a legislative district must be different genders, the practical effect of this change is to go to the women who have been elected in the 36th and other LDs and say, I'm sorry, there are too many of you. We need to have fewer women at the table, and we need to reserve what practically ends up being a seat that's reserved for a man. And I say this as the first vice chair of the King County Democrats, who is the first vice chair in part because I identify as male and use he, him pronouns, which makes me a different gender than Shasti Conrad. The county party already had this rule. I have been first vice chair of the King County Democrats. I have been chair of the 43rd. I have been involved in the party leadership roles for years. I have never encountered a situation where the male perspective has been underrepresented or where I have felt that I needed to bring that perspective to the table to make sure that it was. We do not have the problem of men being underrepresented in leadership roles. We do not need a rule that requires that someone at the table be a gender other than female. And we are better off if we allow our local parties to elect women and non-binary candidates into roles if that's what the party wants to do. So that's the reason for this resolution. That's the explanation for it, and probably a speech in favor as well. But if there are any questions, please feel free to ask. I may turn the floor over to Amy if there are questions about how the state party passed its rule.
Yes, that was a very eloquent speech for, we will count that. But do folks have any questions about this resolution or the state party policy? I see Al's hand is up. I'm asking Al to unmute.
Oh, okay. Just quick question. So this is not to eliminate any kind of quotas based on gender, but just to have the quota on female and none otherwise. Is that right?
Ultimately, the goal is to pass a restorative gender policy that limits the number of men as the dominant gender in party leadership roles and allows any number of women or non-binary candidates to be elected. This resolution doesn't do that, but it supports our state party members, our state party committee members in pursuing that goal.
Okay, yeah, thanks for that. Tara, was your hand up?
It was, but I had just wanted more detail on what is meant by gender restorative, and Scott just gave it.
Okay, excellent. Great. Any other questions? I see Enquita's hand is up.
Okay, so I know that we're talking about gender, but like, I think we've had a history of like, when we bring in like women's right, that means white women's right. And like, have you guys ever thought about like saying gender and race? Because again, if you look at everything that's on, like if you look at the actual, like everyone, it's all white women. Like when it comes to, so it's like going in the same steps that it were all white males. Just a thought.
Yeah, yes, thank you. Scott, do you want to speak to that?
I agree. I think that the scope of the bylaws changes that were made last January is purely addressing gender. There is nothing in the bylaws at all about race, but I would agree that there needs to be. But anyway, it's outside the scope of this resolution. But
because it's not like we're going in the same direction. Because it's going to be like all white women.
Yes, I think there is strong agreement here that we absolutely need to do have a more diverse party, and we'll be working hard to get that into place via rules or recruitment or whatever it takes there. Okay, Jean.
Hi, yes. What is the current discrepancy?
Could you say a little more?
Female and male, non-binary, what is the discrepancy in current representation?
Currently, state committee members are required to be of 2 different genders. This was further codifying a rule that would enable party leaders to especially hold some districts who were insisting that men were the only people who could serve as chair and vice chair. This was helping to hold them accountable and put some pressure on them to say, no, you actually have to allow women on your board. We believe that we need a policy like this. We just want it to be a restorative gender policy, so that if the 5th LD, 30th LD, 36th LD, they all have women serving as chairs and vice chairs, and that shouldn't change. We should be putting the restrictions, we should keep the restrictions related to number of men, but we should let go of the restrictions related to women.
I guess I'm not worried that, never mind. What I mean is, I'm just curious, before this resolution passed, what was the discrepancy? If anyone has the number.
Right. Before this passed, there were 3 legislative districts as of the last reorg meeting that had women as chairs and vice chairs. I don't know, and I don't know if you know, Amy, how many districts had 2 men as chairs and vice chairs.
I heard a handful, and these have been in areas where it's been really difficult to try to get some of these fellas to move aside. But it seems to me like, yeah, so they wanted something that was a little heavier of a rule to be able to push on this. I think we can do that. We just need to not be putting limits on women.
Yes, and I will just add here that we don't have perfect information about how many LPOs have women as chair and vice chair. I know others on the east side of the state also have that situation, but the state party hasn't compiled all of that information recently, so, or yet this term, I guess.
I can add in here too a little bit that we are very aware that there are a number of local party orgs that work really hard to find a man to make sure they're following the rules. And so they'll tell women, no, I'm sorry, we got to find a man to fill that role because we have to have the gender balance. And that's been very frustrating for a number of organizations.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for the question, Jean. Are there any other questions? Okay, seeing no other questions, we can move to a discussion. I think Scott gave a very eloquent speech for why this is needed, so I'm going to count that as our first speech in favor. Is there anyone opposed to, who wants to speak in opposition to the resolution? Is there anyone who wants to speak in opposition to the resolution? And last call, is there anyone who wants to speak in opposition? Okay, seeing nobody who wants to speak in opposition, I would ask if we can potentially pass this by unanimous consent so we don't have to stick around longer for a vote tally. Is there any objection to passing this resolution by unanimous consent? Is there any objection to passing this resolution by unanimous consent? Is there any objection to passing this resolution by unanimous consent? All right, seeing none, we have passed this resolution by unanimous consent. Thank you, Scott and Amy, for your work on this. I think we have just put a lot of work on Amy and Sean's plate to help get this, implemented and changed at the state level. And I look forward to working with them. As Inquita brought up, this is not by any measure the last or only step we have to do to diversify our party. It is, we took one step, we think we took one step backward in January, and we want to fix that and go further. Absolutely. Okay, so Annabelle, do we have results as to the Shama ballot?
We have votes in. Just give me a moment to make sure I've got the tally correct, please.
Okay, absolutely. This is going to be the last thing in our agenda. So we just want to thank everybody for sticking around. I think we had a really productive meeting. We will not have any bylaws amendments next month, I promise you. We'll get back to having a really, hopefully interesting presentation and doing some more work. How much time do you need, Annabelle?
Like 30 seconds.
Okay, we will wait it out then.
If I could just type correctly, that would be helpful. Okay, it is 33 yes and 7 no.
Okay, so that certainly passes. I don't have the percentage, I can't do that in my head, but that's certainly above 60%. So that resolution does pass. Great. So thank you, everybody. I really appreciate the really respectful discussion. I think our new debate rules worked quite well. I'm very happy. Thank you, Tara and Annabelle, again for your work on that. And so for that, we will move to good of the order. Do folks have anything they'd like to share with the group? And maybe, all right, sorry, I will go from the top. So Charlotte, you should be unmuted.
Give me just a second here. So sorry about. Sorry, I had prepared a statement and I just need to pull it up. Okay, so I'm going to speak on Brittany Bouley's candidacy real quick. So my name is Charlie Amaral. I'm a member of the board here at the 43rd. I'm also the daughter of an internationally certified environmental risk assessor and a certified arborist. Growing up in that kind of a household, I know what good environmental stewardship is when I see it. I also know what a competent leader looks like, as my parents are 20+ year tree service owners. Personally, I can't recommend Brittany Bouley highly enough to be on the KCD board of directors. I've known Brittany for a number of years. Her commitment to environmental justice and attention to the intersectionality of environmental justice, racial justice, housing justice, gender justice, and much more are all immensely inspiring. And I cannot wait to vote for her in March. And I commend her candidacy to you all.
Yeah, thanks for that. Dave.
Yes, whole Washington is picking up steam. That's the campaign to get a government health care or single payer health care or whatever you want to call it in Washington state. So wholewashington.org for any information would be great. We need help, we need money. So whatever you can do, thanks.
Yeah, thanks for that. Next up is Derek.
Well, hey, everybody. My name is Derek Richards, and I'm the current president of the Young Democrats of Washington. And I would like to let everybody know that on Saturday, March 13th, the Young Democrats of Washington will be hosting a fundraiser that will be a trivia contest. And we would love to have a team from the 43rd District compete. You can even have more than one team. Teams can be up to 6 people, and it's $50 for the team. So, you know, $8 per person-ish, or you can get a whale to come in and pay the full $50 for your team, and then you're all good. It's going to be at 6 o'clock, and yeah, 6 o'clock, Saturday, March 13th, trivia. We're going to try to get as many LDs and YD chapters to compete so we can crown a true Democratic Party organization trivia champion.
All right, that sounds like a challenge to me. So I think we'll have to work on rising to meet that. Yes, awesome. All right, Holly is up next.
Oh, I just.
Watch little TV.
Hello, it's Holly.
Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, should
Go for it, Holly.
can I
you're up.
speak now or?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to encourage people to join the 43rd District Democrats Environmental Caucus face page if you want to keep up with some of the legislation that needs support for fighting climate change, and encourage anybody who has interested in climate issues to join our group. We have a really good group of working both at state, city, and county levels to fight climate change.
Yeah, thanks so much, Holly. Up next is Camille.
Hi, oh, excuse me. Hi, everyone. So the House Bill 1499, I mentioned it earlier in the policy breakout room, is the Pathways to Recovery Act. It is currently in committee and is at risk of dying out. We passed it as an organization, as a resolution last year. And there is currently a call to action to, as soon as possible, contact both Representative Chop and Representative Macri in favor of the bill. I have in the chat, I'm going to send Morgan the link that was sent with all of the committee members' information to make sure that you contact our representatives in favor of this Pathways to Recovery Act in order to decriminalize drugs in Washington State.
Great. Yeah, thanks so much, Camille, for that. Up next, we have Emily MacArthur. Just unmute.
Thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to invite people this Saturday at noon. There's going to be a car caravan and bike brigade, so socially distanced protest at the Amazon Spheres. Folks maybe have heard about the brave workers in Bessemer, Alabama, who are voting to unionize this month and would be historic if they won. We have the privilege of having the Amazon headquarters in our city, and I think, you know, of an International Day of Action, there'll be a ton of attention on what happens in Seattle. So we do want a big turnout on Saturday at noon for the car caravan in solidarity with these workers, and also putting pressure to make sure that there's no preemption clause included in any of the laws that are passed at the statewide level. You know, we absolutely support more progressive funding, and we want to see a payroll tax at the statewide level, but no payroll tax should include any kind of preemption or rollback of the historic victory that we won here in Seattle. So it's kind of a two-pronged protest, both strengthening the Tax Amazon movement here in Seattle and standing shoulder to shoulder with the workers in Bessemer, Alabama.
Yeah, thanks for that, Emily. So then up next, Councilmember Swant is actually with us and wanted to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you for having me and for working together for us, working together on so many victories for ordinary people, from the Amazon tax to landmark renters' rights laws. And especially thank you so much for approving this resolution tonight with a powerful majority. This right-wing recall campaign is an attack on all progressives. It's an attack on Black Lives Matter and all of Seattle's working people. It's a big business effort not only to overturn democratic election, but also our victories. The recall charges are false, and the state law does not require truth in the recall. As my friend Councilmember O'Brien correctly said, we not only need to unite to defeat the recall, we also then need to challenge the unjust law, which allows wealthy people and the right wing to basically get a do-over of the election results they did not like. And you will all remember, it's not like big business did not try to defeat our re-election in 2019. They in fact spent unprecedented amounts of money. They sent numerous mailers with racist and sexist attacks, but we still defeated it. The 43rd LD and many rank and file Democratic Party members were part of that campaign. The recall cites Black Lives Matter twice in its 4 charges because they are outraged at the powerful protests of the historic movement. It cites the Amazon tax because billionaires are furious we won it. So we should not have any illusions. If this recall succeeds, it will be used as a springboard for further attacks on progressives. And it is really ominous. We cannot let that happen. Thank you again. And I urge you all to get really actively involved in the solidarity campaign against the recall and to fight for further renters' rights in this time of deep crisis for so many working people and especially communities of color. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Councilmember Swant, and thanks for the work you do on council and elsewhere. So with that, I think I don't see any other hands. I will go last here for good of the order, which is there is a lot of legislation moving in Olympia these days. Today, earlier this evening, the Senate Ways and Means Committee passed a watered down version of the governor's capital gains tax proposal. It lowered the rate, it raised the exemption by 10 times. It also exempted all property rather than just residential homes from that. So I just want all of us to remember, like, we like and appreciate our 43rd reps. I think they're all, great people. We need to remind them of what we want to see happen. So just really want to encourage folks, you cannot contact them too much. If you email Senator Peterson, you'll likely get a very nice reply from him. I really encourage folks to get involved with the policy committee and on your own time, reach out to them. They want to hear from you. and don't hold back. We have a lot to fight for this session. So with that, seeing nobody else, I think we can declare ourselves adjourned. And yeah, really appreciate everybody showing up and your involvement, and you'll hear a lot more from us in the coming weeks. So thanks. All right, see you all. Have a great evening.